Okay. So now we are going to discuss the management of monochorionic twin pregnancy, which is a Green Top guideline, and it was published in 2016. Okay. So what is the introduction? That a monochorionic pregnancy, it's a multiple pregnancy, which is most commonly a twin pregnancy, in which the babies, they are dependent on a single shared placenta. And approximately 30% of the twin pregnancies in UK, they are monochorionic. 30% of the twin pregnancies in UK, they are monochorionic. There has been an increase in all the types of multiple pregnancies with the increasing use of assisted reproductive technology, the social and the demographic changes in the population associated with migration, and the deferment of the pregnancy to a later maternal age. So the most common reason we do have the multiple pregnancy is basically I'm so sorry. It is because of the assisted reproductive technology. If the assisted reproductive technology that is done, if the embryo transfer it is done using by the day 5th of the blastocyst transfer, it usually forms the monochorionic pregnancies are formed compared when it is done in the cleavage 3 days on the 3rd day of the transfer on the cleavage state basically. So we need to remember this point that assisted reproductive technology is the main reason for having multiple pregnancy. If it is done using the day 5 blastocyst transfer, it is more associated with higher rate of monozygotic twinning as compared with the cleavage stage, which causes the day 3 transfer of the embryo. Now, what are the complications that we are going to speak in terms of monochorionic twin pregnancies? There are 4 complications that are specific to monochorionic twin pregnancies. That is twin to twin transfusion syndrome, the selective growth restriction. Another one is TAPS, that is twin anemia polycythemia sequence. And the last one is TRAP, that is twin reverse arterial perfusion. And for any pregnancy, any twin pregnancy, it is very common, that is single intrauterine death. Although which is not exclusive to monochorionic twin pregnancy, it is more common and it has global effects on the second twin or the co-twin. Now, if there's a single twin, that becomes a paper-like structure, that is preparaceous twin. The guideline does not tell us about this, but that we have studied in our, if we look in our textbooks, that was there in that. But it has never come, it's not a part of the guideline, so it will never come as a part of our question as well in the exams. So monochorionic diamniotic twin pregnancies, it carries a higher risk of having overall fetal and the perinatal loss compared with the dichorionic pregnancies. Furthermore, monochorionic monoamniotic pregnancies, where the both twins are in a single amniotic sac, that is, it forms 1% of the monochorionic twins. They carry a very high risk of having a perinatal loss, most commonly before 24 weeks of pregnancy. So very important, you need to remember that monochorionic pregnancies, they form 30% and monochorionic monoamniotic is 1% only.
Dr. Anusha, can you show the previous slide?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So monochorionic pregnancies will be 30% and monochorionic monoamniotic, they will only be 1% of the total monochorionic. That is 1% of out of 30 will be monochorionic monoamniotic. Now we are going to discuss the individual complications that are associated with the twin pregnancies. So first of all, we are going to discuss about the twin to twin transfusion syndrome. Now, twin to transfusion syndrome, it forms up to 15% of the monochorionic pregnancies. And along with that, what happens in that, why it happens twin to twin transfusion syndrome? The reason is that because The blood flow is unidirectional. It flows from the artery to the vein, anastomosis in the placenta. It is only unidirectional. Now, how do we screen for that? We screen the woman in terms of monochorionic. We discussed previously in the previous NICE guideline that for monochorionic pregnancies, we monitor them from 16 weeks onward. And we monitor them by doing an ultrasound examination from 16 plus 0 weeks onwards at 2 weekly intervals. Every 2 weeks, we are going to do it. And in that 2 weeks, what we are going to note? We are going to record the note and record the fetal biometry and the Likert volume. That is the deepest vertical pool, pocket, and fetal bladders. They should also be visualized. Now, because of this twin to transfusion syndrome, the woman will have the symptoms. There can be either sudden increase in the size of the abdomen, or she can have the breathlessness as well. Now, this is the treatment. Okay, let me do this slide as. Now, this is basically the treatment. It says, okay, let me this not visible. Okay, so if it is the twin to twin transfusion syndrome, how do we manage them? We manage them in 2 ways, depending on the gestation age. If it is before 26 weeks of gestation, you are going to treat the patient with, you are not going to treat the fetal medicine specialist. They are going to treat it by doing fetoscopic laser ablation. And after 26 weeks, the treatment option will either be amnioreduction or septostomy. These are the 2 options depending on the gestation age. Before 26 weeks, they are going to do fetoscopic laser ablation, and after 26 weeks, the option is amnioreduction or septostomy. And after the treatment has been done, then how we are going to manage them? We are going to manage them by doing weekly ultrasound, including the examination of the heart, brain, and the limbs. Along with that, serial measurement of umbilical artery Doppler, middle cerebral artery peak systolic velocity, and ductus venosus Doppler velocities. It should be performed. But after 2 weeks of the treatment, the interval, you're going to increase it to every 2 weeks, in which you're going to do the same things. That is umbilical artery Doppler, the middle cerebral artery Doppler, the ductus venosus, with documentation of the adequate fetal growth by calculating estimated fetal weight. I'll repeat this point again, that once we have managed the patient either by doing fetoscopic laser ablation or amnioreduction or septostomy, after doing these procedures, for the first 2 weeks, we do an ultrasound. We are not going to do, they are fetal medicine specialists, they are going to do. They are going to do the ultrasound in which they are going to examine the heart, the brain, the limbs of the baby, along with that umbilical artery Doppler, middle cerebral artery Doppler, and the ductus venosus Doppler. It will be done for the 2 consecutive weeks, first 2 weeks. But after those 2 weeks, then it is going to be done again every 2 weekly till the time of delivery. And when do we deliver the patients with twin to twin transfusion syndrome? We deliver them in between 34 plus 0 weeks till 36 plus 36 weeks of gestation. And how do we stage them now? It is very important for you all to remember the staging, because there are questions given in the scenarios in the EMQs, and you have to tell them that what is the stage of this twin to twin transfusion syndrome. They've given you this description, that is, these are the buzzwords they've given you, and you have to tell them that which stage it is. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So we are going to discuss these staging now. So in stage 1, what happens? It is defined, there will be a discordance in the amniotic fluid volume. It is defined, there will be oligohydramnios in deepest vertical pool of less than 2 centimeter in the donor sac, and there will be polyhydramnios in the recipient sac, that is more than 8 centimeter before 20 weeks of gestation, and after 20 weeks it's going to become more than 10 centimeter. Along with that, there will be the bladder of the donor will be visible and Doppler studies will be normal. This is the stage 1 in which the donor twin will be having oligohydramnios. By oligohydramnios, we mean that is less than 2 centimeter of the deepest vertical pool. And in the recipient twin, there's going to be polyhydramnios. Before 20 weeks, it is going to be more than 8 centimeter. And after 20 weeks, it is going to be more than 10 centimeter. Along with that, donor of the bladder will be visible and the Doppler studies will be normal. Now, in terms of stage 2, the bladder will not be visible for the donor twin and there will be severe oligohydramnios. Why it happens severe oligo? Because of the anuria. And the Doppler studies, they will not be critically abnormal. Now, in stage 3, the Doppler studies, they will be critically abnormal. They can be abnormal either in the donor twin or the recipient twin. And they are going to be abnormal in the umbilical artery Doppler. In the Doppler, or there can be abnormality in the venous Doppler velocities in the recipient. That is, in the terms of recipient, there will be reverse flow during atrial contraction within the ductus venosus or pulsatile umbilical vein velocities. I'll repeat this point again. In stage 3 of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, in the donor twin, there will be abnormality in the umbilical artery Doppler. And in the recipient, there is going to be abnormality in the ductus venosus. What is going to be that abnormality? There will be reverse flow during the atrial contraction, or there can be pulsatile umbilical vein velocities. In a stage 4, there is going to be ascites. There can be pericardial effusion. There can be pleural effusion, scalp edema, or hydrops. They are going to be present only in the recipient. Remember, in a stage 4, the recipient is going to be affected. In a stage 5, there can be death of either one or both the babies. They have died and they're not amenable to therapy. So again, we are going to repeat this twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome again because it's very important. So what is the incidence? It occurs in up to 15% of the twin pregnancies, monochorionic twin pregnancies. The cause is that because it happens because the direction of blood flow, it is unidirectional in from artery to vein anastomosis. And once it has been diagnosed that it is a twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, that for that we are going to screen it by doing an ultrasound from 16 weeks onward every 2 weekly. And because of this, because the size of the abdomen is going to, because the fluid is going to collect inside the abdomen, size of the abdomen can increase, or there can be difficulty in breathing for the woman, that is breathlessness. These are the common symptoms that the mother will experience in case of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. Now, once she has been diagnosed that she is having twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, we treat them. If it is before 26 weeks, they are going to do fetoscopic laser ablation, and after 26 weeks, either amnioreduction or septostomy can be done. Now, after doing fetoscopic laser ablation, how we are going to monitor them? For the first 2 consecutive weeks, we are going to do weekly ultrasound. But after those 2 weeks, we are going to monitor the fetus every 2 weekly by doing the Doppler umbilical artery Doppler, the middle cerebral artery Doppler, the ductus venosus, and along with that, the fetal biometry. And these twin-to-twin transfusion pregnancies, which are complicated, they should be delivered in between 34 to 36 weeks of pregnancies. Am I clear for all of you so far? Am I clear to all of you?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So please, can anyone, let's discuss, let's tell us, can anyone tell me the staging?
There are 5 stages. In first stage, the donor bladder is usually seen, and there is oligohydramnios of less than 2 centimeter deep vertical pool, and donor there is no abnormalities in the and in donor twin the
the bladder will be visible.
Yeah. And in stage 2.
No, what about the recipient twin? The other twin.
In recipient twin, the umbilical fluid volume before 20 weeks, it will be more than 8 centimeter, and after 20 weeks, it is more than 20 centimeter.
No, after 20 weeks, it is going to be
more than
10 centimeter. Yes, half of it. Yes, half of it. Yes. Yes, and very right. Now, in terms of stage 2?
In stage 2, in donor twin, bladder will not be visible. And there will be, and the Doppler is not critical. And in case of recipient twin, there will be
in a stage 2 in the recipient, there will be nothing will be there in a stage 2 for the recipient.
Okay. And in stage 3,
yes,
stage 3, there will be severe oligohydramniosis, and vertical in donor twin there will be severe oligohydramniosis, and Doppler
no. In a stage 3
is critical.
Yes, in a stage 3. Now in a stage 3, there will be only problem with the Doppler studies, only with the Doppler.
Yes.
Okay. So what is going to be the problem in the Doppler?
In the Doppler, umbilical artery Doppler will be abnormal in case of donor twin, and in recipient twin, middle cerebral umbilical artery
Ductus
venosus, umbilical vein velocity will be pulsatile, and ductus venosus Doppler will be present in case of atrial contraction.
Yes. So in terms of donor will be artery and the recipient will be vein. You can remember like this. Donor with artery and vein with the recipient. Okay. So in a stage 4?
In stage 4, there will be ascites, pericardial effusion, pleural effusion, scalpedema, and hydrops fetalis.
In the?
Donor twin. Donor twin.
No. Recipient. Yes, exactly. Recipient.
Polyoli syndrome.
Yes. And in stage 5?
One or both babies may die.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chanda. Such a brave, because it's really very courageous to speak in front of all the audience, Even if you speak wrong or right, no problem. But the good thing is that you spoke among all. I really appreciate for that.
Okay, thank you.
No. Now, the next complication that we have is the selective growth restriction. Now, what is the incidence? of that selective growth restriction, that it accounts for 10 to 15% of the monochorionic twin pregnancy. Why it happens? The cause is that there is anastomosis in between the fetal vessels, that is intrafetal placental anastomosis. But in case of twin to twin transfusion syndrome, there was the blood flow was unidirectional. And for screening, we use at each scan from 20 weeks, it will be done. In twin to twin transfusion syndrome, we screen the woman from 16 weeks of pregnancy. But in case of selective growth restriction, we screen the woman from 20 weeks of pregnancy. And we measure either the estimated fetal weight or the biometric parameters. Now, in terms of management, in terms of twin to twin transfusion syndrome, we manage them before 26 weeks or after 26 weeks. We divide them according to the gestational age. But in case of selective growth restriction, there's nothing like that. You can treat them either by two ways, either by selective termination using bipolar cord occlusion, or you can either use radio frequency ablation. There are two ways to treat them, either bipolar cord occlusion or radio frequency ablation. You are not going to the one to do it. It is the fetal medicine specialist. They will do it for you because they are the person who are specialized. Now, once they've been managed, how do we monitor them after that? We monitor them.
Dr. Aksa,
Yes.
selective termination means feticide?
Yes, it is one of, yeah, it can be interchangeable term, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And in terms of the monitoring, after the treatment, after the management, you're going to monitor them. You're going to monitor them every 2 weeks with fetal Doppler by using umbilical artery Doppler and the middle cerebral artery Doppler, along with that, in which you're going to measure the pulsatile index and the peak systolic velocity. If the umbilical artery Doppler are abnormal, then Doppler assessment will be taken in accordance with the national guidance, that is measuring the ductus venosus waveform. So also in twin to twin transfusion syndrome, we were monitoring every 2 weeks. After the first 2 consecutive scans, we are monitoring them every 2 weeks. And also for selective growth restriction, we are monitoring them every 2 weekly. So monitoring is almost similar in both of them. Now in terms of delivery, in terms of selective growth restriction, if it is type 1, we deliver them by 34 to 36 weeks of pregnancy. But if it is type 2 and type 3, our plan of delivery to deliver them is by 32 weeks unless there is any concern. So we deliver them, and before, if we deliver them before, definitely we are going to deliver them by under the cover of steroids. Antenatal steroids will be given to them. Now, what do I mean by type 1, type 2, and type 3? Now, you need to see that selective growth restriction. By selective growth restriction, that mean that in between the weight of the twins of both the baby or the growth element, there's going to be difference of more than 20%. There will be growth discordance of more than 20%. Along with that, it occurs in 10 to 15% of monochorionic twin pregnancy that we already discussed. Now, in terms of selective growth restriction type 1, there will be growth discordance, that will be imbalance between the growth of both the twins. But there will be positive diastolic velocities in both the fetal umbilical arteries. Umbilical artery Doppler will be showing the positive diastolic velocities in twin 1 as well in twin 2 also. In a stage 2, what will happen? There will be growth discordance. Either there can be absent or reverse end diastolic velocity in one or both the fetuses. And in terms of type 3 or the stage 3 of selective growth restriction, there will be growth discordance with cyclical umbilical artery diastolic waveforms. There will be cyclical. First, it is going to be positive. That we in stage 1, it was positive. So in a stage 3, it is going to be positive. Then it can be absent, then reverse. And it is going to be taken the same wave pattern throughout. It will be like in first, it is going to be positive, then absent, then reverse. This is in case of stage 3 of selective growth restriction. Now, there's a very important point that I want you all to tell you in terms of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome and selective growth restriction. There's a very minute difference that you need to understand. That is mentioned in the strategy, and there are questions also related to it. If you solve the books, if you start solving them. So in twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, remember, there was 2 things there. There was in the donor, there was oligohydramnios, and in the recipient twin, there was polyhydramnios. But in case of selective growth restriction, in the one of the twin, they did not say whether it is donor or the recipient. In one of the twin, there will be oligohydramnios, but in the other twin, the liker will be normal. And this is the differentiating point to identify whether it is selective growth restriction or whether it is a twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. It's a differentiating point in between 2 of these conditions. Am I clear in this differentiating point?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Aksa, will it be not be isolated selective growth restriction?
Sorry?
Can we call it as isolated selective growth restriction, that oligo in one amnion and normal in another?
No, you can't call it, because the guideline does not say anything like that. Because both the twins can have the same abnormalities, like the umbilical artery Doppler changes. They can be positive, then absent, and the reverse.
Okay.
The only difference will be in the form of polyhydramnios, oligohydramnios, and the normal volume of the liker. That is the difference in both 2 of them.
Okay.
Okay. So I will repeat this again. Selective growth restriction. It happens in 10 to 15% of the monochorionic twins. It is the incidence. Why it happens? Because there is an anastomosis in between the vessels of the placenta, that is intrafetal placental anastomosis. We screen the selective growth restriction from 20 weeks of pregnancy, while in case of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, we screen it from 16 weeks of pregnancy, and it is done every 2-weekly interval. Now we manage them either by selective termination using bipolar cord occlusion or radiofrequency ablation. But in case of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, if it was before 26 weeks of pregnancy, we did fetoscopic laser ablation, and after 26 weeks, we did amnioreduction or septostomy. In terms of monitoring, almost the monitoring is same for both of them, that it will be done every 2-weekly by using Doppler studies. Either it could be umbilical artery Doppler, middle cerebral artery Doppler, or peak systole, umbilical artery Doppler, middle cerebral artery Doppler, or the ductus venosus Doppler. And now in terms of delivery, in type 1, we are going to deliver it in between 34 to 36 weeks of pregnancy. Why we deliver them early? Because still the Doppler studies are bit better as compared to type 2 and type 3. So we deliver them in between 34 to 36 weeks of pregnancy under the cover of steroids. In type 2 and in type 3, we deliver them, we plan the delivery by 32 weeks of pregnancy. But it can be done before that if there is any concern. Now, can anyone? Okay, Yes, yes, I'll repeat this point again. The difference in between twin to twin transfusion syndrome and selective growth restriction. In terms of twin to twin transfusion syndrome, the donor will always be oligohydramnios. In case of recipient twin, the recipient will always be polyhydramnios in case of twin to twin transfusion syndrome. But if we come and speak about selective growth restriction, in one of the twin, there will be oligohydramnios and the other twin will have the normal liker. Am I clear, Fumni, for you?
Yes, I just want to know about what is, because you said in selective growth restriction that
Mhm.
there is anastomosis at the level of the placenta. But
Yes,
in twin to twin transfusion, you said there is anastomosis of the arteria and venous. Where does that
yes,
occur? Is it at the level of placenta also? Because I didn't get that cause, the cause of the problem.
yes. It occurs between the circulation, fetal circulation, not at the level of the placenta. It occurs at the level of the fetal circulation, blood circulation.
Okay, that is for the twin transfusion.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But the selective growth restriction is occur at the level of the placenta.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
no problem. So can you tell me the staging of selective growth restriction, if you don't mind?
The stages, we have 3 stages of
Hmm.
selective growth transfusion. When
Mhm.
there is growth discordances, but there is positive umbilical artery Doppler.
Hmm.
Okay, that is for the type 1. For the type 2, there is growth discordance with absence of reverse endostolic volume in
Hmm.
one or both of the twins. Can be one or both twins.
Yeah.
Then the third one is that there is a cyclic, there is growth discordance with cyclical umbilical artery waveform pattern. That
Hmm.
is, it could be positive, then become absence, then become reversed. That is
Excellent.
the.
This is the type 3.
So for type 1, deliver them at 34 to 36 weeks, between 34 to 36 weeks
Hmm.
plus 6 days.
Yeah.
And for type 2 and type 3, we deliver them early, before 32 weeks.
Yeah. And in both of them, we deliver them by giving?
By giving steroids, you cover them with
Yes.
steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Absolutely. Very good. Thank you so much.
And there is an acronym that we can use if you want to remember the Quinteros.
Hmm.
I can give it to you. Yeah. A is for amniotic fluid differences.
Hmm.
That is, you look at the amniotic fluid differences of both donor and the recipient. For
Hmm.
the donor, it will be oligohydramnios, and for the recipient, it will be polyhydramnios. So that's for A. A, amniotic fluid differences. B means bladder. So bladder
Yeah.
of the donor will not be visible. And when it's not visible, it means that there is not enough circulation and there is oligohydramnios in the donor. And the Doppler will not be critically abnormal.
Hmm.
That's where I remember it. Then for the C, C means there is critically abnormal Doppler studies.
Yeah.
So for the effusions, for the fourth one, that means there are effusions everywhere, ascites,
Mhm.
pleural effusion, and all that. And the last one is death of one or both fetuses.
Both of it. Yeah,
That's the way
excellent.
I
Yeah, it's
remember
a very good
ABC.
mnemonic. Yeah, ABCD, a very good mnemonic to memorize. Thank you so much for sharing with all of us.
Yes.
Okay, send me the mnemonics once again.
Please, Chanda, share it in group A as well.
I will share it in the group on the Telegram.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Fadat.
Yeah. Now, as the twin one, now the types of terms of survival rate. You don't need to remember these survival rates. Just that you should be aware that what do I mean by these survival rates. In terms of type 1 SVR, as Yumi already told us that there's going to be positive diastolic velocity. That is still the babies, the fetuses, they're having a good supply. So their survival rate will be higher. That is more than 90% of the survival. But in case of type 2, and in type 2, there will be absent or reverse umbilical artery Doppler. That means the fetuses, they are deteriorating towards the deteriorating size. So there's a high chance of demise also. That is up to 29%. There's a chance of demise of the growth restricted twin, and also there's a chance of preterm delivery. But in case of type 3, which is the cyclical one, that is there's going to be positive, absent, and reverse. This is going to, so for that, there's a chance that there can be demise, that there can be fetal death, 20% chance, and along with that, there's a chance that there can be neurological injury in the larger twin. You don't need to remember any of the percentages, just you need to remember that the prognosis is good in terms of type 1 SVR. However, the prognosis then becomes poor if we go to type 2 and type 3. Now the next one we have is the twin anemia polycythemia sequence, that is TAPS. This is the third complication of monochorionic pregnancies. So it occurs in 2% of the uncomplicated monochorionic diamniotic pregnancies, but it occurs in 13% of the monochorionic twins post laser ablation. That is, after once we were treating twin to twin transfusion, that is radio frequency ablation we were doing. So the complication of that can happen is the TAPS, that is twin anemia polycythemia sequence, and as a result of that, it occurs in 13% of the monochorionic twins. I'll repeat this point again. For twin to twin transfusion syndrome, our treatment option before 26 weeks was radiofrequency laser ablation. Because of that radiofrequency ablation, the twins, after the treatment, that is the laser ablation, there's a chance that the twins can have anemia and the polycythemia. That is the complication of the treatment that happens in 13% of the monochorionic twin pregnancies. Or it can also occur separately from it also. There can be two ways either it can affect. It can affect as a complication of twin to twin transfusion syndrome, or it can happen as a separate entity as well. Now, what is the cause of twin anemia polycythemia sequence? The cause is there is going to be anastomosis between the minuscule vessels, that is the small vessels. It is going to happen in the minuscule anastomosis in the fetuses. Now, how do we screen them? We screen them. Now, what does it say in terms of screening? Look, it says that following fetoscopic laser ablation for twin to twin transfusion syndrome and in other complicated monochorionic pregnancies, they should be referred to the fetal medicine specialist, where they will monitor them by serial middle cerebral artery peak systolic velocity Doppler. So for TAPS, the screening tool is middle cerebral artery Doppler peak systolic velocity. Remember this. But in case of twin to twin transfusion syndrome, or in case of selective growth restriction, we studied that the screening tool is a normal ultrasound. But in case of TAPS, that is twin anemia polycythemia sequence, the screening test is middle cerebral artery Doppler peak systolic velocity. Now, how do we manage them? The only treatment option for this condition is the same like twin to twin transfusion syndrome, that is fetoscopic laser surgery. It is the only treatment option for the cause of this disease, that is, it is in analogy with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. And after delivery, how do we monitor that whether it is the affected twin? After delivery, what is going to happen in both the twins? There's a chance that the donor twin can be severely anemic, and if it is anemia, the donor will require the blood transfusion, of course. And in the recipient twin, there is going to be polycythemia, and to correct polycythemia, we require partial exchange transfusion. And the level of the difference of hemoglobin will be greater than 80 grams or 8 grams per liter with a reticulocyte count greater than 1.7. And this is, we are talking after delivery or at the time of birth. And now what is the staging of this condition? There's no any such staging. We just need to remember that in the donor, there's going to be fetal anemia. And because of the fetal anemia, middle cerebral artery Doppler will be higher. That is, the peak systolic velocity will be more than 1.5 multiples of median. And in case of the recipient, where there is polycythemia, the middle cerebral artery Doppler, it will be less than 1 multiple of median. I'll repeat this point again, that as the donor twin is anemic, so for that we monitor the donor twin by doing middle cerebral artery peak systolic velocity, which is going to be more than 1.5 of the normal median. And in case of recipient, there's going to be polycythemia, in which the middle cerebral artery Doppler peak systolic velocity will be lower. How much lower? It will be less than 1 multiple of median. I'll repeat this quickly again. Twin anemia polycythemia sequence. It is the third complication of the monochorionic twin pregnancy. It can happen in 2% of monochorionic and diamniotic pregnancies, and 30% after fetoscopic laser ablation after the treatment of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. The cause is that there will be minisecule artery to vein anastomosis. And we screen this condition, that is TAPS or twin anemia polycythemia sequence, by doing middle cerebral artery Doppler peak systolic velocity. However, if we are screening either twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome or selective growth restriction, we screen them by doing ultrasound. In terms of management, the management is similar to twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, that is fetoscopic laser ablation. And after delivery, we expect that the donor twin will be severely anemic, and because of the anemia, the treatment is blood transfusion. And in the recipient twin, there is going to be polycythemia. For that, the treatment is partial exchange transfusion. And after delivery, to diagnose, there will be hemoglobin difference in between both the twins. It will be greater than 80 grams per liter, and the reticulocyte count will be greater than 1.7. Now, who is going to tell me the staging of TAPS? Please, anyone.
There is no staging of TAPS. It's a 2% complication of in monochorionic diamniotic twins, and after laser ablation, its incidence is 13%. And we monitor through middle cerebral artery peak systolic velocity in anemic fetus. The middle cerebral artery peak systolic velocity is less than 1 multiple of
No.
More than
Pulse
1.5.
Yes, in polycythemia,
So,
cythemic.
okay. First, tell me about the donor twin.
Okay, in donor twin is anemic and the peak systolic velocity will be more.
Okay. Yes.
1.5 multiple of median. And in recipient twin, it's less than 1 multiple of normal median.
Yes. And what after delivery, what is going to happen?
After delivery, we will check the hemoglobin difference and retic count. And if the difference is more than 8 gram and retic count difference is more than 1.7, then
Excellent.
we will diagnose after.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Faris. Now, the last complication, which is related only to monochorionic, is a twin reverse arterial perfusion, which is a very rare condition. That is, it forms only 1% of the monochorionic twin pregnancy. It is the acardiac twin. There will be no cardiac tissue, and it will be the only anastomosis in this condition. There will be artery to artery anastomosis on the level of the placenta. That is, we call it also as a ghost twin. Is also, this condition is also called as the ghost twin also. So in this condition, you just need to remember two only things: that it is a very rare condition, that is 1%, and it's an acardiac twin, which is having the causes, that only the causes in between to artery anastomosis at the level of the placenta or on the surface of the placenta. Now, after this,
Norma, can you
yes,
explain that? I didn't get the explanation of that trap.
okay,
How
yes,
does it?
I'll
Of
explain.
1 to.
Yes, sure. I'll explain it to you again. No problem. Look, in case of trap, it is twin reverse arterial perfusion. The name itself says that it is a blood perfusion is reverse. You understand my point, that the blood is going to flow from the normal pump twin into the other twin. That one of the twin will receive all the blood, while the other twin, it has no any cardiac tissue. So it will not receive any of the blood supply. That is why we name that twin a cardiac twin, absent of cardiac tissue.
Deoxygenated blood is transfused. That's true.
And it happens. Why it happens? Because there is an anastomosis at the level of the artery on the placenta. And it has a negligible survival rate. Am I clear to you?
So that means that the acardia, the baby that does not have cardiac activity, is receiving blood from the one that have.
Yeah, it does not have any cardiac tissue at all.
Okay.
So that
But
means
it's
there is
receiving
no heart.
blood from the normal baby.
Yes, it is receiving
Yes, I know
blood from,
acardia means no heart.
yeah, no heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And the
there is
problem is,
reverse.
yes, that is why it is reverse. The name itself will tell you. So you don't need to memorize it. You just can think of it by remembering the name. It is in the reverse. Okay?
Okay, ma, thanks.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so after all these complications that we have studied, now how do we manage them? Please just one second. Okay, so in terms of management, once we've studied that what are the complications, now we need to understand. Now, once we've studied what are the complications, now we need to understand that what is going to be the further management plan from here. So in terms of further management plan, the clinicians should be aware that monochorionic pregnancies, they complicated by twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, selective growth restriction, or TAPS, they are still at risk of having fetal death and neurological abnormality. So after any of the treatment that has been done either for twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, selective growth restriction, or twin anemia polycythemia sequence, this all will be done by the fetal medicine specialist center. Now, after doing the treatment, what do? They do fetal MRI of the brain, may be performed 4 weeks after the demise of the second twin to detect any neurological morbidity, if this information would be of value in planning the management. Now, if one of the twin has died in utero, so in order to take care of the other twin, what do? We do the MRI of the brain after 4 weeks, because it will tell us about the neurological abnormality, plus it will help us in planning the further management. Now, if one of the twin has died in case of monochorionic twin, the risk of the other twin dying inside is 15%. And if you double it in terms of neurological abnormality, it becomes 30. But it is slightly less than that. That is 26%. But if we talk about in terms of dichorionic twin, the risk of death is 4% for the other twin to die if one twin has already been died in utero, and the other twin for having the neurological abnormality, it is 1%. You need to remember these percentages because it has come as a SBA or a single best answer frequently in the questions. In cases of monochorionic as well as in cases of dichorionic. Now we will talk about, first we will talk about specific complications related to monochorionic pregnancy we talked about. Now we are going to talk about the problems which are related.
Yeah, okay, done, finished.
All right, no problem. Okay, now we previously we talked about the problems related to the monochorionic pregnancy. Now there are two complicated problems which are common to the monochorionic monoamniotic pregnancy. One of them is the umbilical cord entanglement and the other one is the conjoined twins. Conjoined twins. Now you just need to remember that these are the complications or the specific problem in relation to monochorionic monoamniotic pregnancies. And conjoined twin, it is a very rare type of the condition. It is a very rare type of condition which happens in monochorionic monoamniotic twin pregnancy. You will refer the patient to the fetal medicine specialist. They will do the further management because the guideline does not tell us that what is the further management about this. We just need to remember up to this level that these are the only two problems which are specific to monochorionic monoamniotic pregnancies. However, if there is umbilical cord entanglement, it is visualized by using a color flow Doppler, and such a finding has been demonstrated to contribute to overall morbidity as well as mortality for the twins. And in terms of conjoined twins, it is a very rare, and by definition, they are monochorionic monoamniotic twin pregnancies. The prevalence is 1 in 90,000 to 1 in 100,000 pregnancies. The assessment, the prenatal assessment, is required in a tertiary fetal medicine center so that diagnosis will be confirmed and the prognosis can be discussed in conjunction with a multidisciplinary team. Only you need, just I'll repeat this point again, that in terms of monochorionic and monoamniotic pregnancies, you just need to remember these two specific problems, that is the umbilical cord entanglement and the conjoined twins. There's nothing more than that you need to remember.